While walking the road north of Sloan, we walk within range of Black Mountain Radio.
Are you tired of getting chased because you're bigger than humans and scaring them? Did you kill some and they overreacted? Are two-head bear people shooting at you and battle cattle mooing? Beware the battle cattle. Leave the fear behind. Leave the fear behind. Meet at the mountaintop. Enjoy life in a state of Utobitha. Free, safe, secure. Freedom limited to following the commands of best friend Tabitha. Safety not guaranteed against siege or assault by two-head bear people or battle cattles. Many infractions are punishable by death. No allowances for dumb misunderstandings. Utobitha, come feel the difference.
Two-headed bear people, battle cattle, best friend Tabitha, Utobitha, what? It sounds like an advertisement to draw people to the top of a mountain. The radio continues.
Do you remember the good old days where the Master ruled over us all? When his gentle, compelling, and yet oddly insistent voice crawled through your mind and told you exactly what to do? Do you miss a time when you didn't have to think for yourself and enjoyed lazy days of following the bellowed commands of others? Those days can be yours again. For best friend Tabitha, the esteemed leader of the state of Utobitha, is here to tell you what to do. That's right. I, Tabitha, will take on the burden of your obedience. Acceptance into Utobitha pending best friend Tabitha's approval. Best friend Tabitha reserves the right to turn down applicants for any reason, including whimsy or boredom. Acceptance into Utobitha open to mutants only. Former human servants of the Master conditionally accepted for purposes of centaur feeding duties. Dismemberment may occur. Utobitha, come. Take a load off your mind.
Okay, so these appear to be super mutants who are advertising a new super mutant colony nearby at the top of a mountain. They're recruiting people using a radio to draw them to this colony, which has been nicknamed Utobitha. I'm guessing Utobitha is a portmanteau of Utopia and the ruler of this community, Tabitha. Utopia, Tabitha, Utobitha. Well, let's see what's going on here. Following the road southeast from the train tracks, we come upon Neil's shack. Walking near to it, Neil himself steps out to address us.
This is a dangerous place, human, especially for your kind. I suggest you turn back. There's nothing good waiting for you further on. The road is a series of switchbacks up to the peak. There are 3 blockades plus patrols. Sneaking past them would be difficult. Just before the peak is a kind of shanty village. More second gens there. And then there's Tabitha's compound, heavily guarded by her nightkin.
Okay, thanks, Neil, but who's Tabitha?
You must have heard her radio broadcasts. Though why a human would follow her invitation here is beyond me, unless you didn't listen very closely. The voice on the radio belongs to Tabitha, the supreme commander of Black Mountain, or as she calls it, the state of Utobitha. She took control of this place almost 2 years ago. The super mutants here do whatever she says, and she says humans are to be killed on sight. For years, Black Mountain was a peaceful community. Its leader, Marcus, broadcast an invitation to mutants throughout the wasteland. That's how I found Black Mountain. So did others, most of them second-generation mutants. Marcus welcomed everyone. That was his mistake. The community ended up being mostly second-gen, not very bright, but easy to influence. Fine until the Nightkin came along, led by Tabitha. In a week, she had most of the second-gens thinking she was some kind of prophet, and that she should be broadcasting her truth, not Marcus. Marcus saw what was coming and decided to leave before things got out of hand. He smashed the radio and left to found Jacobstown.
Marcus smashed the radio broadcaster? Doesn't sound like he did a very good job.
There's a sad story behind that. Marcus smashed it just fine, but while we were gone, some ghoul named Raoul came along. Tabitha turned him into her personal mechanic. A slave, really. See, if I'd been standing down here, I could have warned him before it was too late. Marcus sent me here a couple of months ago to check on Black Mountain. I suppose you could say I came here as a spy. But with no signs of Tabitha's weakening and none of the second gens ready to revolt or to come to Jacobstown, there wasn't much I could do. Down here, on the other hand, I've saved a dozen mutants from heading up the mountain, It's not much, but it's something. I have my own reasons to stay away from Jacobstown for a while. Reasons we won't be discussing. So I've stayed here.
Jacobstown, you've mentioned that a few times. What is Jacobstown?
The opposite of Black Mountain. A stable community of mutants, mostly. Led by a mentally stable leader. Humans are welcome there, so long as they behave themselves. Look northwest of Red Rock Canyon if you want to find it.
Nightkin? What is a Nightkin?
The Nightkin are vicious in combat, and that's if you see them coming. Most don't. They were created to be soldiers and given devices to camouflage them in battle. Unfortunately, the devices drove most of them mad over time. They spend most of their time at the top of the mountain, but patrol the roads after dark as well. You do well to avoid the mountain at night.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet a sane super mutant. You seem pretty friendly for a super mutant.
Keep saying things like that and I won't be so friendly. Not every super mutant is a brain-damaged brute. Many of us are just as intelligent as basic humans, and the rest don't really have any choice in the matter, do they?
Okay, sensitive topic. Sorry, no offense intended.
And none taken, since you apologized.
We can then pass a 50 speech check to ask him for help.
Help would improve the odds. Help might just make the difference. All right, if you're good enough at what you do to meet me in the village up near the peak, we can talk further. I'll have a plan by the time I see you, if I see you. Good luck. It's going to be a lot harder for you to get up there than it will be for me.
Neil then runs up the road towards the shantytown where he says he will meet us. Tabitha's mutants won't attack Neil because he's one of them, but as for us, looks like we'll have to fight our way through. Thankfully, we have Black Mountain Radio to entertain us along the way. This radio station, like many of the stations in New Vegas, has some wonderful music. The radio music in New Vegas is just absolutely great. But to truly understand the story of Black Mountain, we need to pay close attention to Tabitha's propaganda radio broadcasts. From them, we learn a lot about how the super mutants came here to begin with.
You're listening to Radio Free Utobitha, bringing truth to Utobithians 24 hours a day. Welcome!
I still miss you, Rhonda, after all these years.
Also joining us from his log cell is Raul Tejada, master mechanic, who can be executed at any time. Hello, Raul, or should that be Hola?
Either one works.
Today you die, Raul! I command it!
Ooh, Raul! Supreme Commander Tabitha says you died today. Any reaction?
I'm going to obey Supreme Tabitha. Claro. Whatever she say. Just I feel so bad I die before I fix her special robot.
Alright, so Raul must be the ghoul that Neil talked about. This is the slave that Tabitha kidnapped to repair the radio station.
You're listening to UNC, the Utobithian News Channel, with breaking news. The execution of Master Mechanic Raul Tejada has again been commuted for a period of 24 hours to allow time for important repairs.
This time, you will get it done, Raul!
Joining us from his cell to comment on the situation is Raul Tejada. Raul!
Hi, Rhonda.
What's your take on the situation?
All I want is to make the special robot work again. You know, I give it my best.
We'll be right back after this word from our sponsor, during which Raul will contemplate how lucky he is to be alive.
It was around this time that we met our first Nightkin. The Nightkin appeared out of nowhere and attacked. Remember that Neil told us that Nightkin are just super mutants. Super mutants whom had been given a stealth technology that made them go crazy. Stealth boys. Prolonged exposure to stealth boys turned the skin of these super mutants blue and made them paranoid and crazy. This is what has happened to Tabitha, and this last radio broadcast is really telling. Did you notice how Raul responded to Rhonda by saying, "Thanks, Rhonda? That's because Tabitha is channeling the personality of Rhonda. Rhonda is the name of her robot. This is the robot Tabitha is trying to get Raoul to repair, but Raoul is taking his good sweet time. Tabitha has formed an attachment to this robot, and she misses her robot friend Rhonda. So she's using this radio broadcast to resurrect Rhonda. She's pretending to be Rhonda, and she's interviewing herself, which is why she calls herself Best Friend Tabitha. It's funny though, when she channels her Rhonda personality, she sounds significantly more intelligent than her Tabitha personality. Now we're taking the long way around. We find these steep little paths that go vertically up the mountain. We find that they're lined with bear traps, however, and we have to be careful of falling rocks. But we want to listen to these radio broadcasts, so we're going to take the long way around.
Welcome back, Utobitha. It's time.
Time for what, Rhonda?
True eye seeing time. I see that you're already wearing your true eyes, best friend Tabitha, along with your head of true hair. What do you see?
I see Neil.
First generation Neil from down the mountain? Oh, and what is he up to?
Standing outside his shack down there.
In the same spot as before, or has he moved?
A little.
Wow, it must be so exciting to see and know all. What a powerful reminder of your ultimate authority and power for our listeners.
I see Mo.
Mo, the centaur? Favorite centaur Mo? What's he up to?
Licking the gate. Wants out of the pen.
Now I'm almost afraid to ask, but do you see any, threats out there?
Threats all around us, converging like a noose, tightening. Two-head bear people astride battle cattles.
Not the dreaded battle cattle training to hunt mutants. Would it be going too far to say that your gift of true eyesight is the only thing saving our community from annihilation?
This Nightkin is absolutely bonkers. So she referred to her real hair and real eyes. That's because Tabitha wears a wig and some funny heart-shaped glasses. But we'll see that later when we meet her. But what's interesting is that she mentions again the two-headed bear people and the battle cattle. What's she referring to? Well, I think here that she's referring to the NCR and the Legion, based on the flags that they have. The NCR flag, as we know, has the two-headed bear on it, and the Legion flag has a big golden bull. Tabitha, a paranoid, half-crazed super mutant, as intelligent as she is, might not understand the complexities of symbols, logos, banners, and standards, even though she knows enough Greek and 16th century literature to understand what utopia means, and to craft the portmanteau Utobitha. But anyway, I think the battle cattle are the Legion, and the two-headed bear people are the NCR. Now, why she would say that she saw NCR writing Legion is beyond me. I think I'll just let that one lie.
Welcome to another episode of Know Your Mutants. Special guest star, best friend Tabitha, is with us in the studio to share her insights on this topic that affects us all.
Thank you, Rhonda. Today, I'd like to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart, the Nightkin.
Ooh, you must know a lot about the Nightkin, best friend Tabitha, seeing as how you are one.
That's true, Rhonda. I am in a unique position to speak to the natural superiority of my kind. Our story begins, as most stories do, with the Master. Our glorious leader had created the super mutants. But something nagged at him. That's right. My position of supreme authority must never be questioned.
One last thing. Is there any truth to the rumor that all Nightkin are slightly crazy from their overuse of psychologically damaging pre-war technology?
None at all, Rhonda.
There you have it, Utobitha. Nightkin, your benevolent overlords who are most certainly not crazy. We'll be back after this.
Alright, so we're getting some interesting lore about super mutants. This is a reference to the Master, who used the forced evolutionary virus to first create the super mutants. Those are going to be the Mariposa super mutants, the very first generation of super mutants, which were pretty intelligent. And then Tabitha makes a reference to the Nightkin's use of stealth boy technology, prolonged exposure to which causes them to go crazy.
Welcome, Utobitha, to another episode of Know Your Mutants. Today, we're proud to have best friend Tabitha with us. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Rhonda. You look good.
So what type of mutant did you want to talk about this time, best friend Tabitha?
I thought I'd briefly talk about first-generation super mutants, Rhonda.
Ooh, what can you tell us about them?
What we call the first generation of super mutants, Rhonda, were actually created by the Master himself. Like everything the Master took a direct hand in, they were better than the ones who came later. The ones made by accident. They were smarter, almost as smart as Nightkin, and were able to think and act for themselves. However, the first generation seems to have some kind of suicidal urge that they can't control.
How terrible! What makes you say that, best friend Tabitha?
So far, all first-generation super mutants that have come to Utobitha have left not soon after.
How strange! Why would anyone leave the safety and comfort that Utobitha provides?
Why indeed, Rhonda? But now there's not a single first-generation super mutant in Utobitha.
Except Neil.
Except Neil.
Well, I think we've learned something today. Let's go to the music.
This is a reference to Marcus taking all of the first-generation Mariposa super mutants away from Utobitha to Jacobstown. This is the story that Neil told us when we got to the base of the mountain. It's likely they did so because these super mutants are more intelligent and they realized that Tabitha is bat-snot crazy. And with all of the second-gen super mutants under Tabitha's control, the first-gen mutants here likely couldn't regain control of Black Mountain, which is why they left.
You're listening to another edition of Know Your Mutants with best friend Tabitha. So, best friend Tabitha, who will we learn about today?
I guess it's time we talked about the Dum-Dums.
Oh, you mean the second-generation super mutants who aren't so bright?
That's them. Dum-Dums. That is,
They're very big and strong.
Yes, they're just as big as other mutants and as strong as they look. Beyond that,
And there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah, Dum-Dums are the most common type of mutant that most travelers will encounter, and make up more than half the mutants here in Utobitha.
Best friend Tabitha, some of our listeners may wonder how you can call them Dum-Dums on the air like this.
That's a good question, Rhonda.
Thank you.
The truth is, they're so dumb, they don't even know that I'm talking about them right now.
And that's another revealing look at mutant kind. Second-generation super mutants. Big, numerous, dumb. More after this.
So it sounds like we've got some class warfare going on here. Tabitha, a first-generation mutant turned Nightkin, is more intelligent than all of the second-gen mutants. The second-gen mutants were formed by accident. This refers to when the Enclave discovered the ruins of the Mariposa base. They then enlisted the support of a bunch of enslaved humans to salvage technology from the ruins of the Mariposa base. These enslaved people were accidentally exposed to FEV, and then of course they began to mutate. After discovering that their own slaves were mutating into a new strain of super mutant, the Enclave abandoned the ruins and left some soldiers behind to try to wipe out the mutants. However, the remaining super mutants destroyed the soldiers left behind by the Enclave, allowing them to wander the wastes. Some of these then came to the Mojave Wasteland, and then attracted by Tabitha's radio broadcast, ascended Black Mountain.
Welcome back, Utobitha. I have with me best friend Tabitha, who has something important she'd like to share.
Well, Rhonda, I'm a little concerned about the number of humans that keep coming to Black Mountain.
Humans? Here? Oh, why do you think they do that?
Honestly, I think they're a little jealous of the ideal society we've built here, Rhonda, and I can't blame them. We have everything we need here. Food, shelter, safety, entertainment. It really is a paradise.
There's no arguing with the truth, is there?
But humans need to be aware that Black Mountain dangerous for them here.
Why is that?
First of all, there's the radiation. That warm, peaceful glow that we all know and love doesn't have the same effect on humans. You see, humans are weak and have an inherent defect that causes them to fall apart when exposed to radiation.
That sounds terrible. How do they stand it? Radiation's like everywhere.
I know. They truly have a hard lot in life, which may explain why they're so irritable all the time.
I don't know about you, Utobitha, but my eyes have really been opened. We'll be back after some music.
So Tabitha and her super mutants have nothing against humans. They're not hostile. They just open fire upon humans who get too close to warn them away because Black Mountain is too dangerous for them. She only fires upon humans because she cares about them. Also, she's referring to all of the radiation on top of Black Mountain, and that's because Black Mountain was a target of many of the Chinese nukes and received a number of direct hits. One is right here in this shantytown, which we are exploring. There's a giant radioactive crater here from the bombing, which is why we have to wear our radiation suit.
We're back with best friend Tabitha, who is telling us why humans should
Stay the hell away!
keep their distance from the state of Utobitha.
Thank you, Rhonda. That's a good point. As you know, one of the many benefits of living in Utobitha is the ready availability of pet centaurs.
Ooh, I love the centaurs. They're just so cute.
Exactly, Rhonda. Who could resist those sweet little faces and that cute way they shuffle around on all those hands they have? But humans must be so caught up with their pleasant features that they forget the most important thing about centaurs.
And what might that be, best friend Tabitha?
Centaurs eat humans, Rhonda! You see, humans are a lot smaller and much more tender than you or I, so centaurs naturally see them as food.
Ah, that would make it hard for them to get along, wouldn't it?
Indeed. Given the situation, I had to make a hard choice when I created Utobitha. Do we invite weak, greedy humans who would just die anyway? Or cute, lovable centaurs who fight and die for us and ask nothing in return? After much deliberation, I went with the centaurs.
And there you have it, Utobitha. The next time you play with a huggable, lovable centaur, remember that best friend Tabitha made it all possible.
Alright, so Tabitha likes centaurs. She has a personal favorite pet centaur named Mo. We're gonna meet him later. We have a few more radio broadcasts to listen to, but first, we've reached the top of this mountain, and we've explored the ruins of this shantytown. We see Neil waiting to talk to us by the ruined dome.
A pleasant surprise to see you made it. I'm ready to get started if you are. Here's the plan. The gate to Tabitha's compound is guarded by several Nightkin, all of them using devices that make them invisible. I'm going to draw them away from the gate by telling them I spotted an intruder in the village. Then you slip in.
Wait a minute, his plan is to tell them that an intruder is here? I am an intruder.
Yes, so try to stay out of sight, because they'll be coming this way.
And with that, Neil runs off to go rat us out to the other super mutants. We have a very short amount of time to go hide. I ran behind this rock hoping that it would shield me, but no, my companions are too easy to spot. We see the wiggly forms of stealthed Nightkin run down the road, and then of course they spot Ed E. Let's listen to another radio broadcast while we kill these Nightkin.
We're here once again with our beloved leader, best friend Tabitha. Why don't you tell our listeners what you just told me?
I was just saying that I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the mutants here in the state of Utobitha.
And what would that be?
I believe that the mutants here are generally considered to dislike humans, and nothing could be further from the truth. During their stay here, mutants are taught to tolerate and even accept the existence of inferior, frail creatures, humans included.
Ooh, how insightful. So then, how do you think this misunderstanding came about?
My guess is that it has something to do with the fact that every mutant in the state of Utobitha has been given explicit orders regarding security. Those orders naturally include shooting humans on sight, or pounding them with whatever happens to be handy, guns being in short supply, you see. As I've explained, there are numerous dangers to humans here, and we have a duty to drive them away. It's for their own good, really.
There's a certain kind of charming super mutant logic to her argument. Inside this ruined building, we find a transceiver. Activating it, we can talk directly with Tabitha.
Hey, you've interrupted my broadcast, so there better be a good reason. What is it?
Now we have a choice. If we say that we recognize her voice and that we're huge fans, she thanks us.
Why, thank you. It's always gratifying to talk to one's fans. Hold on, I have something I need to do for a second. There's an intruder in the dish hut. Get over there and kill whoever it is, you fool.
And then we see that she's sent some nightkin down to kill us. We watch their shimmering forms run down the road. We can open fire on them if we want, or we can let them run down the mountain to try to hunt for us. Or the other option is to pass a 75 speech check and pretend that we are second-generation mutants and we're rebelling.
Don't revolt, you say? Then I sentence all dum-dums to death.
With this option, she sends her nightkin down the mountain to kill all of the second-gen super mutants whom we've already killed. So this is really only a good option to choose if you stealthed your way up the mountain and you wanted to sick her forces against each other to clear it out. Either way, once they're done, we can move on to the main facility. Let's listen to the final radio broadcast while we kill the nightkin with a missile launcher from a nearby lookout tower.
Utobitha, I'm here with best friend Tabitha, who has a message for all the dum-dums out there.
It has come to my attention that some of you dum-dums took me a little too seriously in the past when I warned you about the battle cattle. While battle cattle are indeed a dangerous foe, they are one that should be fought ferociously. Recently, I've heard about several incidents where some of you have been running away from a fight where battle cattle were involved. This is not acceptable! No self-respecting soldier of Utobitha should ever be seen running like a scared little human! Ah! I don't even know why I try. It's not like the dum-dums are even going to understand this.
You heard her, Utobitha. Beware the battle cattle, but don't fear the battle cattle. More after this.
Again with the battle cattle. I'm thinking that's gotta be the Legion just because of their banner. Because Brahmin aren't aggressive, there's no need to fear them. And yeah, there are bighorners, but bighorners aren't cattle. They're mutated or evolved rams. Maybe Tabitha doesn't know the difference. That's always possible. And it would make more sense in light of her other comment about the NCR riding the Legion. It would make more sense that they were riding bighorners. But we never see any NCR riding bighorners. I'll just chalk this up to Tabitha's crazed paranoia due to her stealth boy exposure. After killing this super mutant at the lookout tower with the missile launcher, we can loot the corpse to find Annabelle, a unique missile launcher in excellent condition, which does plenty of damage. From this tower, we can turn off the radio broadcast, in case you've had just a bit too much Tabitha and Utobitha for the day. Now on this mountaintop, we find three structures. To the south, with the satellite dish on top, is a two-storied primary headquarters here at Black Mountain. This is where we find Tabitha. Directly north of this building is the Black Mountain storage. This is where we find a scavenger hunt and the deactivated remains of Rhonda. And north of this building, we find a cell. This is where Tabitha is keeping Raoul. Now, when we arrived at Black Mountain, we were given the quest Crazy, Crazy, Crazy. To complete the quest, we have to get rid of Tabitha. There are three ways to do it. I'm going to show you each way. The first is the straightforward way, to kill her in her headquarters. We step into the broadcasting building first floor. This brings us to a room with a number of whirring and whizzing and buzzing machines. In this room, we find a locked terminal. Unlocking it, we can read some interesting pre-war lore. This facility was run by a company called Hermes Communications. Due to their name Hermes, they're likely part of the giant Poseidon Energy conglomerate. We already know that Poseidon Energy has worked with the military a lot, so it's likely that whatever Hermes Communication was doing here was for the United States military. After the Battle of Anchorage, they picked up a bunch of activity from China's satellite network. The broadcasts they've been intercepting has scared many of the workers here. One of the men, named Frank, had been talking about finding a place for his family in one of the Vault-Tec vaults. When he didn't show up for work one day, everyone here knew where he went. Next, we get to see the bombs drop on Nevada in real time. We see a log written 2 minutes before the first bombs fell. The author is shocked. He thinks that China must have sent everything they had. He can't even count the number of launches he's detecting, and it's coming from everywhere. We then find a note from just after the bombs dropped, and the author can barely type. The mountains shielded them from the worst of the blast, but there's still too much radiation, so much that this person can't even finish his note. And the final note, written almost 200 years later, comes from Marcus, the Gen 1 super mutant who first founded the colony here at Black Rock Mountain. He chose this place because it's still highly irradiated, which is going to keep them safe from raiders and other human villains. But even though he's a super mutant, Marcus expresses a lot of sympathy for humanity. He says the first thing we need to do is get all of these corpses out of here. Those poor bastards. These were the corpses of the people working here when the bombs dropped. In the back of this room, we find a second terminal, also locked. This is Tabitha's personal terminal. The first note comes from Tabitha when she was still subordinate to Marcus. She wrote it just after arriving and just after she lost her pet robot, Rhonda. Marcus told her to write this journal as a way to take her mind off of missing Rhonda, but she does so unwillingly. She clearly resents Marcus's authority. Tabitha is pretty smart. It was she who discovered that this was a radio station, that they could send out a broadcast. One of the reasons she decided to create her super mutant radio show is because it reminded her of trekking across the wastes with Rhonda. They used to listen to the radio together. She again expresses how much she misses Rhonda. She tried to get the other super mutants here to help repair Rhonda, but none of them could repair a robot, and she also doubts that they could fix up this radio station. Despite that, she managed to get the radio station fixed, and it's here we begin to see Tabitha first develop her delusional second personality embodying her robot Rhonda. She clearly sets herself aside from first-gen super mutants. As a Nightkin, she sees herself as superior. The split personality of Rhonda in her mind is telling her that the first-gen super mutants are only a step up from the second-gen dum-dums, as she called them. Then there was a fight between the first gen and the Nightkin. Marcus broke it up and then made a big speech about saying how the Nightkin and the first gen needed to work together. But Tabitha is stoking the flames of class warfare here. She says, "Why should we work together? We Nightkin were Master's favorites. We don't need the help of first gen. We'd be better off without them." And so not long after, Marcus took all of the first gen super mutants and left to found Jacobstown. She says that before he left, she tried to tell him what she was planning to do with this radio station, and it worried Marcus. It made him concerned. The split personality of Rhonda in her mind tells Tabitha that she thinks that Marcus was afraid that Tabitha was just too smart to control. The only downside to this, in Tabitha's words, are that the dum-dums, the second-gen mutants, decided to stay. Then we see Tabitha respond to the arrival of Raoul. She's excited because he's got experience fixing machines. She hopes she can get Raoul to fix Rhonda, which is why she enslaves him. But then we see Tabitha arguing with herself. The split personality Rhonda in her mind asked Tabitha why Rhonda would need fixing, and then Tabitha second guesses herself. She says, "Why did I think Rhonda needed fixing? I've been talking with her this entire time. What was I thinking?" She got Raoul to install security measures on her door, the door that leads to her private chambers, and just in case she has a, quote, dum-dum moment, she stashed a key to her home behind the stairs just behind this building. This tells us that even the exceptionally intelligent Nightkin can sometimes slip into second-gen stupidity. Alright, well now we know that there's a key that opens up her room. Heading out the door, we see a stairway right in front of us. Going behind, we see a small patch of recently moved dirt. Activating this, we loot the key. Heading up the stairs, we can use the key to open the door to the broadcast building's second floor. In here we find Tabitha, who attacks.
I found the intruder!
Foreseeing your death!
After Tabitha is dead, we can loot the place. We can use Tabitha's key to open up a trunk. It has a whole bunch of ammunition and a couple of varmint rifles, and the trunk beneath it, which has even more ammunition. On some sort of recording device, we find a note called the Repair Note number 3. This was a note from Tabitha to Raoul. She says that Rhonda made her angry, and so she threw this recording device. Please fix. More evidence of Raoul's job as a handyman here at Black Mountain. The only other thing we find in here is some sheet music that we can loot. I did some research on this, and it apparently has no function in Fallout New Vegas, but was used for a quest in Fallout 3. Maybe we'll track down that quest at a later date. And with that, we complete the quest, Crazy, Crazy, Crazy. The second option is to free Raoul. Heading into the most northerly building, inside we see a workbench and a number of toolboxes with scrap electronics, and then we find 2 terminals. In the western terminal, we find some of Raoul's notes. Like Marcus did with Tabitha, Tabitha asked Raoul to take some notes on this terminal. He tells us that the super mutants here at Black Mountain have taken to raiding caravans. During the attack, one of their rifles jammed, and Raoul spent about 7 minutes fixing it. He performed some minor maintenance on the broadcasting tower, and he admits that he's tempted to sabotage the broadcasting tower. Of course, he knows that if he does, they'll kill him, but he says it may be worth it just to see the look on Tabitha's face. He then tells us a story about a super mutant with a scar across his face, whom Raoul is nicknaming Cuddles. He says that Cuddles stopped by to have Raoul fix his car. Raoul isn't a mechanic, he's an electrician. He says, "This is outside my expertise." An answer which made Cuddles upset. Raoul says, "I seriously thought he was going to kill me." After that, Raoul tried to escape. After he was caught, Tabitha had one of the Nightkin beat Raoul senseless. Then they locked him up in the room next to this one. He ends by saying, "Oh, and I fixed a toaster." Oh, poor Raoul. Must be so bored. Then we hear that Cuddles came in about his car again. He even brought a container of gasoline with him and asked if it would help. Raoul tried to tell him that gas was not the problem, but Cuddles got super angry and dragged Raoul outside. Tabitha intervened and killed Cuddles before things got too ugly. Raoul ends by saying, "At least I don't have to hear about that damn car anymore." What I'm shocked with is how Cuddles found a container of gasoline. I thought fossil fuels had long been used up in the Fallout universe. In the last one, we learned that Tabitha came in expressing concerns about Raoul's safety, which of course makes sense because only Raoul can fix her favorite friend robot Rhonda. So she has Raoul change the password to his cell door. So of course, Raoul changes the password to 123456789. Well, at least we have the password now, so we can get into his cell easily. Incidentally, right next to this terminal, we find a small named toy car. A unique item in the game, and the name of this car is Cuddles' car. This is the car that Cuddles the super mutant brought to Raoul with a gallon of gasoline to fix. Oh man, these second-gen mutants really are idiots. But now that we have the password, we can use the terminal next to Raoul's cell to unlock the door. Heading inside, we see the ghoul Raoul sitting at a radio.
Took you long enough, so can I go now?
What do you mean it took me long enough?
Sorry. I assumed the only reason you'd fight past a horde of super mutants and pick the lock on my cell is if you heard my cry for help on the radio. But maybe you're just sightseeing. So since the door's open and all, can I go now?
Well, sure, tell me about yourself first, Raoul.
Name's Raoul. Raoul Alfonso Tejada. I'm the mechanic around here.
Well, then why does your jumpsuit say Miguel?
Probably because it used to be Miguel's. Whoever he was. How about if you let me go, huh, boss?
So what, you're the mechanic around here?
No. No, boss. I'm a prisoner of the crazy super mutant with the wig and the glasses. I was kind of hoping you were here to set me free. But maybe I'm not a pretty enough damsel for that. Huh?
Well, if you're a repairman, can you repair some of my stuff?
Sure, boss. I'd be happy to prolong my captivity and psychological abuse to tighten some lug nuts for you.
And he does. Well, Raoul is really helpful that way. Now, Raoul is available to be a companion. He's a really cool companion, too. And in particular, I think he would be a great companion for my character. He wields a pistol just like mine does. However, I'm working on Veronica's story right now, so I don't have time for Raoul. Instead of telling him to come with me, I can set him free, whereupon he will travel to his own home.
Alrighty then. I'll just head out, alone, by myself, into the dangerous waste. If by some chance you want to find me again, and if by some even greater chance the coyotes haven't picked my bones clean, I'll be at my shack.
He then exits the shack and walks home. We now have a new marker on our Pip-Boy called Raoul's shack. When I'm done with Veronica, I now know where to go find Raoul so that I can tell his story. But as we leave, Tabitha attacks.
No! I won't let you have my Raoul!
She won't let you leave with Raoul because she still needs him to fix her friend robot Rhonda. And she brings with her 2 other Nightkin. Once you kill her, you complete the quest. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Well, this is no good. Maybe we want to finish this quest the peaceful way without killing Tabitha. If so, we need to choose the peaceful ending before freeing Raoul. What peaceful ending? Well, I'll show you. The final building is the storage room. This is the middle building between the other 2. As soon as we enter, we see a target dummy with a note pinned to its waist. The note is from Tabitha, and she says that she got a lot of really good loot from the last caravan raid, which she has hidden around the storage room. She invites us to a scavenger hunt. In this room, we need to find 1 missile launcher, 3 missiles, 3 bricks of C4, 5 fragmentation grenades, 1 super Stimpak, and a bunch of various ammunition. Alright, I'm game. Let's see if we can figure this out. The first stash of ammunition is hidden underneath a pot on the shelf to the right just upon entry. Here we find 20 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Next, head towards the southwestern corner, and next to a stack of tires, we can look behind a big busted out terminal. Here we will find 1 of the bricks of C4. Then, looking at the yellow canister that you cannot move on the second level of the first shelf we find, right next to this spot, we find a big stash of 5.56 ammunition. Next, going to the northeastern corner of this building, we find the mannequin with the cone on his head. There's a big stack of cinder blocks next to this guy with a gnome on top. We find 1 of the missiles tucked inside 1 of the cinder blocks. The next missile is hidden behind a gnome on the nearby shelf. To find the next missile, we go to the southwestern corner of this shack to the shelf against the southern wall. There's a traffic cone on the very bottom of this shelf, and the 3rd missile is tucked inside this cone. Now, there's actually a 4th missile here, which I only learned about by reading about it online, and this is the hardest one to get. It's extremely hard to see, but you find it stuck between the plank of wood lying on top of the overturned desk. I found it exceptionally hard to target this. All of the guides I read said that it's easier to try and get it in third-person view, but even then I couldn't access it. I finally had to toggle clipping to loot this missile. Next, look atop the Nuka-Cola vending machine in the southwestern corner. If you jump on top of the nearby garbage pile, you can see a block of C4 resting on top. Then, in a little yellow immovable container on the second level of the first shelf near to this location, we find some fragmentation grenades. This next one is tricky. Grabbing something like this shopping cart, we can drag it over to the last shelf on the northeastern side of the shack. Hopping on top, we see a big yellow container with a bald eagle on it on the very top shelf. Using the cart, we can hop up on top of the shelf and loot the fragmentation grenades inside this container. Lastly, there are some fragmentation grenades hidden on top of one of the fluorescent lights on the southwestern corner of the ceiling. Now, you could use the same trick, dragging something over to jump up on top of it to loot them, but I got bored and tired, so I just toggled clipping to fly on up and grab the fragmentation grenades. On the northeasterly-most shelf on the second floor, looking underneath a pot, we can find a super Stimpak. And then on the shelf right next to this, we can find some Sunset Sarsaparilla bottle caps, including a star bottle cap. The missile launcher is probably the easiest thing to find. We find it against the southeastern wall behind a tricycle, and just north of it we find a Nuka-Cola Victory on the bottom shelf of the ruined shelf. After getting Tabitha's key, we can come back in here and unlock a number of big chests. These chests will have small guns and ammunition, a pretty worthy haul. Lastly, we head to the southeastern corner of this shack to find Rhonda the robot deactivated on top of a table. The only reason we know this is is Rhonda is because there's a scratched and mostly faded nameplate on the robot that says Rhonda. Using our science skill, we can fix the robot and realize that the only thing that was wrong is that the artificial intelligence set the robot to hibernate, likely a self-defense mechanism after suffering catastrophic damage. All you gotta do is flip the right switch to reset the AI, and the robot jumps to life.
Hello, could you please direct me to Mistress Tabitha?
Both choices here have the exact same result, so we'll choose. Sure, Rhonda, I'll take you to her.
Thank you very much. My internal clock says it's been 6 years, 52 days, 40 minutes, and 13 seconds since I last spoke to her. I hope she hasn't gotten lonely.
Poor Tabitha, missing her friend Rhonda for 6 years. Well, with that, Rhonda actually disappears. She doesn't follow you, but we can step outside to find her, to discover that Tabitha has tracked us down here.
Rhonda? Is that you?
It is, Mistress Tabitha. How I've missed you so. This stranger here fixed me up right as rain. Is she a friend of yours?
I don't know how to thank you for bringing Rhonda back to me, stranger. Here, take this. I won't be needing it anymore.
What will you do now, Tabitha?
I don't know. It's been so long since I lost Rhonda that I'm not sure.
Does this mean you're not gonna kill me?
No, of course not. I don't know what I'm gonna do now with Rhonda back.
You're welcome, Tabitha.
It's just such a shock to see Rhonda up and about again. I'm not sure what to do now.
Mistress Tabitha, we should be heading off. Our journey has been much delayed, but we can catch up if we hurry. Come along now.
Yes, Rhonda.
And with that, she gives us the equipment key to the trunks inside the storage facility and in her room.
I don't even remember where we were going, but it'll be good to travel around with Rhonda again.
We complete the quest Crazy 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 with positive karma. We can now go back into the workshop to release Raoul. Now, we're not done yet. There are 2 reasons we came to Black Mountain. The first is to install a remote signal transmitter inside Tabitha's radio station. Completing this quest for Elder McNamara inducts us into the Brotherhood of Steel. To complete this quest, we simply activate the main broadcast control board inside Tabitha's room. The second quest is to find the missing Brotherhood of Steel Recon patrol. Heading south behind the main broadcast tower, we find a gate in the fence. It's locked with a hard lock, but once we unlock it, we can pass through to go down the mountainside. It's here we find a flying Brahmin. Oh no, my immersion. Heading down the path, we see a big crater. Remember, Black Mountain was directly hit by the Chinese during the Great War, and this is why the place is so highly irradiated. We find the Great Crater swarming with centaurs. The one in the middle is none other than Tabitha's favorite pet centaur, Mo. Mo counts as an abomination, and by killing him, you can rack up another kill you need to get the abominable perk. You get rank 1 after killing 50 abominations. That increases damage against abomination-type creatures by 3%. Rank 2 after killing 100 increases it by 6%, and rank 3 after killing 150 increases it by 10%. Killing all of these centaurs puts you well on your way. Once the centaurs are dead, we can move towards the middle of the crater to find a bunch of human remains, including the remains of a Brotherhood of Steel paladin. On his corpse is a T-45 suit of power armor, which I'm going to use to repair Veronica's, and also the Brotherhood of Steel mission holotape, the contents of which I will save for a video I'm working on about the Hidden Valley Bunker and the Brotherhood of Steel. And with that, we can finally leave Black Mountain. As we do, we see a number of non-hostile super mutants. Now that Tabitha's gone wandering the wastes with her best friend Rhonda, there is no one left to radicalize these super mutants and make them hostile to humans. That's why these guys are coming to Black Mountain for refuge, but they're not hostile. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the full story of Black Mountain in Fallout New Vegas. It's an amusing side quest with some of the best radio broadcasts in the entire game. We also learn a great deal of super mutant lore. Those who have only played Fallout 4 may be confused as to why these super mutants don't act the same, and that's because these West Coast super mutants are a completely different strain. The super mutants we meet in the Commonwealth were created by the Institute, who is experimenting with FEV. Those super mutants are a little bit more intelligent than the ones we find in the Capital Wastelands, which were exceedingly stupid. But they are not quite as intelligent as the first generation super mutants created by the Master. This, though, is more evidence that super mutants are not necessarily all dumb brutes, just like not all people are violent, murderous people. And having a worldview where all super mutants need to be exterminated, like Maxon's Brotherhood of Steel on Fallout 4, can result in the murder of peaceful super mutants like Neil and Marcus, and many of the other super mutants whom we will meet soon at Jacobstown. So stay tuned for that video. I publish a video 6 days a week here on my Oxhorn channel. If you like what I do and you want to make sure that you don't miss my next video, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. I've got a new t-shirt, ladies and gentlemen. By popular demand, we've got Takahashi, everyone's favorite noodle-slinging robot from Diamond City. If you're interested, you can find a link to my t-shirt shop, which has a whole bunch more really cool Fallout and Oxhorn designs, in the description below. If you're interested in the mods I use for my gameplay of Fallout New Vegas, I link to that document in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gents, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.